Hey everybody, welcome to the Black Sheep Props channel. I'm Steve, and I'm here to teach you the tips, tools, techniques, and materials for building your very own super cool EVA foam props. Now, in our last build, we went sci-fi when we built the sonic screwdriver from Doctor Who. And if you missed that build, we'll include the link to our channel's homepage in the description below so you can check out sonic screwdriver or any of the other cool builds we have there. But for this build, we're going to go video game. So without further ado, Black Sheep Props would like to introduce you to the newest member of the family. Ha ha! Look at that, yeah! The Omolon Hand Cannon from Destiny. That's right, look at that bad boy. That's double-decker mayhem right there. Very cool. Look at this thing, man. It's, if you notice, if you're a Destiny gamer, you're going to notice, wait a minute, that's a little bit bigger than it should be. And that's right, because here at Black Sheep Props, you do it however the heck you want to do it. If you want to do it a little bigger, do it a little bigger, which is what we did. We wanted it a little exaggerated, man, to play up that it's a boom, that it's a big hand cannon. Man, this thing is cool. It's all distressed up, it's banged up and scratched up. It's got the cool double-decker jam happening here, and it's got all this really crazy stuff going on underneath these components and plugs and wires and everything, and then the cylinder in the middle and our barrel, our perforated barrel. And we did a lot of carving on the handle. And this is one of those builds too where you have to do a lot of layering up first and then cut the whole thing out to get the shape you want. But not hard. Nothing on here is hard. So in this episode, making an EVA foam Omolon Hand Cannon Part 1, we're going to begin going step by step through how to make this monster. And by the way, we have a template for this build too, so if you want to build along and build your very own Omolon Hand Cannon, we'll include the link to our storefront in the description below, so you can go and pick up a template if you want. If not, that's cool too. Alright, so, enough of me yapping. If you're ready to hit it, let's make something. Alright, here is the beginning of our cannon. And we needed a super thick body, so we got a 1 inch and a 1/2 inch, which is 24 and 12 millimeter, and we glued them together. And then on both sides of that, we're going to sandwich a big 4 millimeter piece on that side and another 4 millimeter piece on this side. And as you can tell, there's our pattern. And you might also be able to tell that once I hold this, it's probably a little bit larger than it should be, maybe 5 or 10%, but you know what we always say, who the heck cares? You do what you want, you make your props the size you want, and because it's your show, man. So I'm going 5 to 10% larger because it feels cool. All right, so what we're gonna do now is, you've seen us do this before where we've got kind of some funky shapes here, and we do that because once we cut this out and then we cut this out, this is going to be our guide to make sure we line up on here correctly, and the same thing here for the other side. This will make sure we line up correctly. So, all in the planning. So what we're going to do first is we're going to take this monster over to the bandsaw and we're going to knock it out. We might even need to get in there and do a little bit of scroll saw action. All right, there we go. Check it out. All right. Now we're going to see why we have these goofy shapes. See what I mean? Now when we come in and we line all this up around the edge and down here, these are going to be flush right here. See this? This part's going to be flush right here. But all of this is going to actually be a slight overhang. And let's flip it over so you can see what we're talking about. All right, see down in here how this now overhangs. All right, there we go. We've got both sides. Now what we're going to do is we're going to begin knocking out these little details before we attach this. Okay, now what we're going to do is we're going to come in here with our brass tube and we're going to poke out 4 corners right here. All right, see that? We poked out 4 holes, just like slide right through and connect here. And we're going to go right through like that. All right, there we go. Look at that. Beautiful. Now, these little funky little edges we can just knock off with our blade. And now we can come in with our Dremel and we can clean it up. All right, there we go. Look at that. That's pretty clean. All right, now before we stick these 2 side pieces to our body, we're going to Dremel around this edge right here. So we're going to get our dust mask on. All right, nice. Look at that. Got a nice bevel around the whole edge there. That is really cool. Wow. A couple little frays in there, but those will come off when we heat it. Before we stick this down, we're going to come in here and every one of these little circles, we're going to use our tiny little brass tube and we're going to pop out our circle. So let's sharpen it up. Wow. 3 twists, man, and it goes right through the foam. Good golly. Look at that, beautiful holes. I mean, those are absolutely surgical. They're so clean. All right, there we go. We've got all of our holes popped out on both sides. Now comes the fun. We're going to be lining up the back end, the top, the front, then these front edges right down in here. All right, let's get going. All right, there we go. Give it a few minutes till it dries and then we make contact. All right, now we have to be careful. Definitely have to be careful because this is kind of really flexible foam because it's pretty thin, but we're going to line up this corner and we're going to line up the top flush as we can get it. We're just going to lay it down. All right, we've got it nice. We got it flush up here. We got it flush across the top. Now we're going to lay this back side down flush, just like this. All right, there we go. Now let's spin this around. Now we're going to line up our edge all the way around. That's what matters, is the outer edge. If we nail the outer edge, everything else will be exactly where it's supposed to be. That's all you got to worry about. Line up the outside edge, which is exactly where we made our... Now over here, we're going to line up this corner right down here because we want that completely flush. Bingo! Wow, that's right on the money. All right, there you go. That's all right, there we go. Dig it. Look at that cool little beveled inset right there that we did with the Dremel. We've got all of our holes popped in there. Look at how tight that is. Now, this is why we did what we did. Now when you flip it over, look at that in there. See how we've got that little overhang right here, a little bit down here, and a big overhang right down there. Let's see if we can get a good look at it. See that in there? Look at that overhang. That's what we wanted. So that when you're looking at it from this side, there's going to be a recess down under here. Really nice. Wow, that turned out great. A lot of planning. You got to take your time. You got to make sure you're lining up. But once you do that, bam, you're gold. All right, let's do this side. Okay, there we go. We've got both sides stuck down. We just took our time, lined up all of our edges, and we're golden. And we've got our little recess down in here on both sides, and down in here on both sides. And we got that by lining up all of our critical spots. All right, there we go. Wow, that's cool. All right, now we can come in, and now we can cut this shape out, and we're gonna do this on the scroll saw. Holy smokes, man. Love the scroll saw. All right, now we're gonna get in here and get crazy with this tight little circle. All right, we just did a lot of cutting. Hopefully we don't screw this up. Man, that's a doggone cutting job right there. Check that out, man. That's nuts. Look at those edges. Holy cow, that handle's kind of big. But like we said at the beginning, we went 5 or 10% bigger than we should be. All right, now we're gonna bust out the Dremel. We've got our dust mask on. We're gonna round all these edges off. And we're gonna shape the handle a little bit. Woo, man, that's insane. Look at that. We rounded off every edge on the piece, all the way around the whole thing, everywhere, and we just destroyed this grip. The grip was a lot bigger. We just kept shaping it and curving it so it fits our hand. Man, that fits my hand sweet. And that's what you want to do. You want to shape it to fit your hand. Wow, look at that, man, that's the bomb right there. Cool, and here we go, look at that. Do not get this inside you. Wear a dust mask. All right, now we're gonna come in with our sanding sticks. We're gonna use our 220, and we're gonna go all the way around the edge where we dremeled. Look at that, wow. That is really smoothing it out. We could actually take more time, but depends on how crazy you want to get. What we're going to do is this. We're going to come in and we are going to cut a piece of 220 and we're going to put it around this piece of PVC like this, and we're going to use it to get into these curves. Like, all right, now we're going to get the heat gun out and we're going to seal this thing because we dremeled like crazy and then we used our sanding sticks. So now we want to tighten the foam up. Now we want to hit it, but we don't want to leave it sitting on one area too long and baking because we'll separate glue, and we do not want to separate glue now that we've got this far. crazy. Man, is that nice. Look at the round edges everywhere and the sculpted handle that fits perfectly. Wow, it's a tiny bit big, but that's what we wanted. We wanted this, like we said at the beginning, like 5–10% bigger than the normal one because we want this to look like an exaggerated hand cannon, and boy, it sure does. Look at that thing. All right, now what we have here is this tiny little rubber O-ring that we got from our local hardware store. Now, it would have been impossible for me to create that, and this is exactly like using neoprene rubber cord, but it's a cool little rubber O-ring. And we're going to glue those down over the top of the holes like that. That's a cool little detail that we want on there. So we're gonna come in here, we're gonna put it a little bit down around the hole like this. We're gonna smear it around just a little bit. There we go. Then we're gonna come in with our ring and we're going to slide it in place right there. Hold down while it bonds. There we go. That is a sweet little detail. Look at those circles around the holes. Okay, here's our 6 circle details. Now what we're gonna do is this. We came in with a sharp brass tube, and we're gonna, just like that, we are going to slightly bevel the inside edge with our Dremel. So we're gonna come in, all right, there we go. Look at that. Nice, smooth, beveled edge on the inside. Really cool. All right, now what we're gonna do is we're gonna stick this down on another piece of foam. There we go. Give it a couple minutes. Some pressure on it. All right, there we go. We've got our beveled edge. Now we're gonna come in and we're gonna draw an outer circle. All right, there we go. Perfect. All right, there we go. Now we've got a circle that's got a beveled recess in there. Look at that. Nice. And then we're going to come in with our Dremel and we're going to clean the edge up a little bit. All right, there we go. Look at that. Nice smooth edge all the way around. All right, now we're going to do the rest of these. Made our marks here for where we're going to stick down. All right, now we're going to come in, line up with our first mark, and line up with our bottom line. And now we know this thing is completely centered between here and here. Perfectly spaced. That's exactly what we wanted. We've got the slight beveled edge on the inside. Now we're going to flip around and put them in there. Okay, now we have this piece of 4mm. We're going to do 2 little strips that are going to run down the top of the weapon. So we're going to roll right through on an angle this way. Go through at an angle. And what we ended up with was this. We ended up with 2 long strips that have an angled cut on the end, a bevel on both ends. Perfect. All right, we're gonna come in with our super glue for this one because it's a tiny little detail. All right, there we go. We've got them both started. They're locked in place. Now we're just gonna go all the way down our edge, little by little. All right, there we go. There's our 2 rails along the top. Okay, now we're going to take this cool little piece and we're going to cut all of these little tiny spaces out on the scroll saw. All right, there we go. Check that out. Wow, that's some cool little detail right there. All right, let's make a mark so we know it's centered. Make sure the whole thing's coated. Okay, now what we're going to do is we're going to bring in one of these pieces that came out of our brass tube earlier when we were poking out the little holes, and we're going to use that. of our shop. Perfect, nice detail, love it. All right, now we're gonna do the trigger and the trigger guard, and we're gonna do that over on the scroll saw also. We're gonna have to shape this trigger guard a little bit because the handle here is curved. That means right here in the middle, we have to do a little curve. All right, we're gonna get our dust mask on. All right, there we go. So we're going to bend it. We're going to get our front piece of our trigger guard right in place, just like that. All right, now we're going to bring this back piece in and we're going to line it up. That is so tight where we dremeled. Wow. Custom place our trigger so that our finger fits right on it nicely. So that's probably about a good spot right there. Let's get this inside here. That fits perfect. We're going to super glue the tip of the trigger to the trigger guard. I'm gonna put a little bit of super glue down. Fits pretty good. I'm liking that. All right, there we go. Round it off. Let's heat seal it to tighten it up a little bit. All right, there we go. Okay, now we're gonna have this piece right here is going to be the grip that's gonna wrap around the back of our handle and around to the other side. Now, the way we got this funky shape is after we did all of our shaping, then we came in with our piece of paper and we drew exactly where we wanted this piece to go so that it would wrap around the back, and then we just mirrored it. So you're gonna have to create your own custom grip shape. And you do that after you shape the handle, then you put a piece of paper over it and you draw a couple different shapes and you cut them out and you figure out the way you want your grip to be. And then you figure out how far it comes over right to the middle of the back of the grip, and then you just take your pattern and you flip it. We're going to bring this around to the back and we're going to line it up right dead center. All right, there we go. Line this up with our Sharpie mark. Line up all of the front edges of our Sharpie mark. And then this part right here, we're going to push down. We stuck the front edge down first to make sure we were going to be exactly where we want to be. And then we muscled this back part down around the handle. Right there and right there. All right, there it was, nice and easy. A little meticulous, you got to take your time. We had to line up all of our edges around the back square pieces on all of our layers so that once we got everything together and then we cut it out, everything was in place where we wanted it. And a lot of that was to ensure that we had these cool overhangs on both sides of the body so that it's recessed up in here to fit in all of our goods here in the middle. But not hard, totally easy. And you saw us shape out the handle, got the handle wrap on there. I think we threw the rails on too, and a couple other little details, but nothing on here was hard. Just be careful, but it's not hard. So that's about it. That concludes making an EVA foam Omolon Hand Cannon Part 1. Hope you liked it. If you did, give us a like, share us with a friend, and subscribe to this channel. And together we're going to go step by step through a lot more super cool builds so that you get the props you deserve. Thanks for coming. See you next time.